Hi, I'm Tina Dale with the Fairfax County Health Department, and today we are broadcasting live from McLean High School. And the Fairfax County Health Department, along with Fairfax County Public Schools, are working together to help our students learn healthy behaviors, and that does include managing stress. So really, what is stress? Well, stress is our body's response, both our mind and our body's response to demands. And those demands can be anything from work to exercise to life changes that we all might have. But for students, lifestyle changes could also be work, and I'm sure since school has just gotten back in session, you guys are feeling a bit more stressed, right? Mm-hmm. So the Health Department and Fairfax County Public Schools are interested in working with students to not only help them cope with stress, but really teach them good lessons to manage this stress. So with me today, I have Dakira Mays. Dakira is our public health nurse at the health department, along with the McLean school psychologist, Beth Werfel. So thank you so much for joining us today. But I'm going to start with the students here. And so first off, do you mind introducing yourselves and let us know what grade you're in?
Hi, I'm Brittany Pang, and I'm a junior at McLean High School.
I'm Atticus Gore, and I'm a sophomore at McLean High School.
So we're here today to talk about stress, right? Okay, so tell me, how do you feel, or when you're feeling stress, what do you all feel?
When I'm feeling stressed, I feel this great emotional strain and tension, and it really makes me hard to focus on anything else but what I'm feeling at the time. So I won't be able to focus on homework or any tests I'm taking, or really what I'm doing, because I can only focus on what is going on in my head and what I'm feeling in my chest, and it really takes a toll on my mental and physical well-being.
And how about you, Atticus? What do you feel?
When I'm feeling stressed, I get really tight up in my chest, I get lots of pressure, and I have a really hard time focusing on everything. And then when I try to take a step back and work on what was stressing me out, I can't focus on it at all.
So what do you guys do when you feel this way?
Well, number one, I try to acknowledge that I am stressed, because a lot of the times in the midst of all the work that we have going on in Fairfax County, because we do have a lot on our plate, a lot of us just like sweep it under the rug and say, yeah, we can just keep going, but eventually we burn out, and I've experienced burnout multiple times. So first I try to acknowledge that I am stressed, and then from there I try to like strategically be like, what can I do to reduce this stress? What can I do to relax and take a break? And a big thing for me is sleep, because sleep is super important.
Yes, absolutely. And how about you, Atticus?
For me, it's really important to take perspective and think about what is actually stressing me out and why I'm being stressed, looking at the big picture. So, for example, one thing that's stressing me out right now is homecoming preparations. So, where I'm going to eat dinner before the dance, who I'm going to go to the dance with, what I'm going to do after the dance, all those small little things that aren't really that big of a deal. So, just taking a step back and thinking about, am I really stressing over a dance right now, is really helpful for me in making sure that if I am stressed, I'm stressed about the correct things.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing your stories. I am going to invite you back to ask you a couple more questions, but if you wouldn't mind just stepping aside, and I am going to invite Dakira Mays to join us today. Dakira is, as I said, a public health nurse here at the health department. So you heard Atticus and Brittany describe how they feel when they're feeling stress. But really, what is happening to our bodies physically when we feel stress, or when students feel stress?
Yes, absolutely. And everything they're discussing is exactly what happens. So your body basically gets flooded with a bunch of hormones. One of them being the stress hormone known as cortisol. So I have here to help me Mr. Cortisol. Sol, of course, is in Spanish, that means sun, and cortisol is the stress hormone. So that results in an increase in your heart rate and blood pressure. You've got a lot of blood coming to the core. You may also experience some issues with your bowels, just because that kind of stops in the moment. And all of that is in an attempt to help you out. So your body is doing this to give you a little bit of motivation. Whatever it is that's causing the stress, your body's trying to get it back down to a normal level. And so you may be experiencing these things. And with you may have a test that you're studying for example, and that brings a lot of stress, and once you study for the test, you feel good afterwards. And so the problem is, once stress becomes in excess, you then may have a state where it is now detrimental to your body. And so now, instead of feeling like you got it, you're feeling like you're losing control of things. And this is the part where we need to acknowledge that it's important to manage stress so that you don't get to this state. That way you can get back to here where now it's more positive for you, because stress can be positive.
So we all might exhibit stress a little differently, and some students might be feeling certain things and not realizing their stress. What are some ways that parents might recognize that a child is feeling stress? Like how do children exhibit it?
Good point. So they might be feeling nauseous. They might suddenly start to withdraw and feeling like they're isolated. You may see they're not hanging out with their friends as much. They may seem a little angry. A lot of the emotional impacts could be anger, could be fear, could be depression, it could be anxiety. If you're noticing these things in your student, they could be stressed. They may also have issues with sleeping, either troubles falling asleep or issues waking up. Difficulty concentrating is a big thing. All of these hormones that are flooding the system, it makes it difficult in your brain to be focused. And so you also, and very little children might see new habits appear. So they may start to bite their nails or pick at their nose. They may start to twirl their hair. And in older kids, they may suddenly start to bully or challenge authority when they never used to do that. So these are the things to be mindful of. You may also start seeing bedwetting. They may complain of nightmares. These are all the physiologic changes that now are manifesting that you can see that your student may be in trouble and needs your help.
So what is the health department and the more specifically the public health nurses in the school system doing to help these students?
Yeah, so we're doing things like now, we're reaching out to the students, we're letting you know now we're here for you. A lot of the times we will have fairs and events, whether it be in school or outside of school, that we are at, and we want you to be there. We want you to come up to our stands. Come talk to us, let's have a conversation. We can help you out. We have a wealth of resources that we can provide to you. We also have monthly messaging, and we'll put posters on the wall. So don't think of it as just a spot of color over there, little pop of color. It's actually got an important message that we want you to look at. We also are always encouraging healthy behaviors. So things like healthy relationships, getting enough sleep. If you do play the cello, go ahead, an instrument, go ahead and get involved in that. And self-care is a big one. We always want to promote the importance of self-care, finding what brings you to your happy place. What gives you the ability to live your best life? Is it going out and volunteering? Is it maybe writing something, a poetry, maybe writing a little bit in a journal? There's a lot of different ways that you can cope, and those are just some of them. I personally like to knit.
And I like to clean, so yes, we do have our own coping mechanisms, that for sure. So Dakira, if there's one thing that you want parents to remember, what would be that one takeaway?
That one takeaway would be MOP, okay? So this stands for M, is be mindful. Mindful that your students also have stressors just like you do. So it's important to speak with them, ask them, hey, what's going on, and recognize that they may be having some troubles and need your help there. The next one is O, and that's to be observant. So you want to be looking at your students' schedule. Do they have a lot going on? If it seems like they're overwhelmed, ask them, hey, maybe we can cut back a little bit on this. And if they are not able to cope as well, then maybe perhaps bring the resources in from the school. There's plenty here. And also we have at the parents themselves can just bring something for the students.
Excellent.
And then P stands for be present. So be a present and positive influence in your students' lives. So if you have, for example, some traditions at home, continue those traditions with your students, create new ones, make time for them, let them know that they're important to you. And I always like to remind people, puppy feet is another word for that, is pause. Stop what you're doing and just take some fresh air, take some deep breaths. It's gonna be okay, you just gotta manage it.
That's right, so we're all going to practice pause. Yes. Thank you, Dakira.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to invite Beth to come on in. Beth Werfel is the school psychologist here at McLean High School. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. So, big question. How stressed are students in Fairfax County?
Yeah, great question. So Fairfax County Public Schools, of course, has data on this. Every school year, Fairfax County Public Schools, in combination with Fairfax County government, conducts a youth survey where students in 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade are asked questions about their behaviors, their habits, and their protective factors. And one of the questions pertains to stress. So students are asked to rate their stress level. And what the findings show is that about 1/3 of Fairfax County public school students who take the youth survey report feeling a high level of stress. And then looking closer at the data, there's a trend upwards. So approximately, let's say 1/4 of 8th graders report feeling a high level of stress, whereas by senior year, approximately 1/2 of our students are reporting a high stress level.
That's a high stress
It's
level.
high,
Yes.
it's high. And it makes sense because, you know, their responsibilities are increasing. And also what's important for us is to make sure as the stress level increases, their coping skills also increase.
So talking about coping skills, what are some strategies that both parents and students can adapt in order to help manage some of that stress?
Yeah, sure. So for starters, I would say, you know, try your best not to overcommit. Prioritize how you spend your time, do what you need to do what you enjoy doing, and feel comfortable saying no to opportunities because you may not have time for them at this moment. A couple of other suggestions would be every day build in a little bit of time for yourself where you can do something that you enjoy. And I feel like it's also very important, and it's helpful to me to have things to look forward to throughout the week or even on the weekend. And these can just be little things like getting Chipotle, watching my Netflix show that I'm watching right now. So just building in little things throughout your day to kind of help you stay balanced.
Excellent. So why don't we use this as an opportunity to ask both Brittany and Atticus to come back in. So you heard what Mrs. Werfel said about some of the strategies. So you guys, how do you practice self-care? Brittany?
So one of my biggest passions is playing the cello. So in my hours of homework I have every day, I always try to find a few breaks where I can play cello. Another thing I like to do is eat snacks because when I'm stressed I forget to eat sometimes and that's not healthy. So I make sure to eat right, eat snacks, and also when I can take naps. And on the weekends I like hanging out with my friends and my family just to have time to myself, away from homework and grades, and just to myself.
How about you, Atticus?
I really am mindful of not working through. You go to school for 7 hours and then I have, let's say, 2 hours of homework. I'm not going to work for 9 hours straight. So just taking those breaks, using those tools that Mrs. Warfel mentioned before, just to take a step back and let your body relax.
What are some of the things that give you kind of like an energy and will re-energize you?
So my friends, my family, and school staff like Ms. Werfel give me the most strength and energy because we're all so fixated on being perfect, and that's just not the ideal because we're all human. So my friends, my family, and like Ms. Werfel and people at school, like my teachers, they always remind me that it's okay to make mistakes. We're all human and our mistakes don't define us, but how we bounce back really matters.
Absolutely.
So for me, I like to get involved in extracurriculars, in clubs and sports. So I think of those things as breaks from my life and not extra things that I have to do. So I go to school for 7 hours and then I have an hour and a half for my club, and then I get to go home, do some homework, come back to the school a few hours later and do sports. And by the end of the day, I'm feeling really accomplished, really energized, and happy about how my day went.
Those are excellent coping skills. I think folks will really get a lot from what you have to share. So stay with us because I have one more question for you. But Beth, what is Fairfax County Public Schools doing to help students?
Well, there's a lot going on right now in our school system in terms of educating students about mental health and wellness. For example, in the PE and health curriculum, there have been additional lessons on mental health and wellness, and also education in the school buildings in terms of how to access resources in your building, like your school psychologist, your school social worker, your school counselors. There's a great opportunity coming up on October 5th at Fairfax High School. It's a mental health and wellness conference that's open to the community. Parents and students and community members are welcome to attend. There are some great sessions related to mental health and wellness.
And are there any programs that are involved or that are going on in some of the schools?
Yes, so a lot of schools at all the levels, elementary, middle, and high school, are starting to incorporate more mindfulness activities into the school day. A lot of schools are now having therapy dogs come and visit, and there are clubs specifically dedicated to mental health education and reducing the stigma, such as the club Our Minds Matter, which a lot of Fairfax County Public Schools have now added this club to their list of activities.
Excellent. So same question that I asked Akira. Is there any one takeaway that you really want parents to remember?
Oh, one's hard, right?
Okay.
In this limited amount of time. Well, I would just say, for parents to know that every school in Fairfax County has school counselors, a school psychologist, and a school social worker assigned to that school, either part-time or full-time. So please reach out to your school if you're worried about your child and want to talk to someone who has a mental health experience. And also, let's loop it back now to the youth survey. There are a lot of questions on the youth survey that ask students about their protective factors. And what the findings show is that when students have 3 or more protective factors, then that greatly reduces their risk to engage in unhealthy behaviors, and it also increases their ability to manage their stress. So in talking about protective factors or 3 to succeed, things that parents can do would include like just checking in with your kids, being available for help, encouraging your child to have other adults to talk to when times get tough, and then extracurricular activities. That's a great asset protective factor for students.
Excellent. So this might be a really good segue to ask both Brittany and Atticus, do you have any advice for parents that you would like to share?
Well, a lot of what Ms. Werfel said, and also something that is super important for parents to know, is that you have to first acknowledge what your kid is going through and also try to understand what they're going through, and that a mental health struggle can't be fixed overnight. It can't be fixed at the drop of a pin. So you have to really offer like a shoulder to cry on or a listening ear to really understand what your child is going through and understand what they have to say about what they're going through.
Excellent. How about you, Atticus?
I think a really important thing for parents to remember is that your kids are growing up in a different generation, a different time. Kids are growing up now with a lot more technology in their everyday, whereas parents didn't have as much of that. I know a lot of my friends and a lot of the people that I communicate with get a lot of stress from their technology, whether that be social media or just like the act of being able to say anything behind a screen. So I think it's just important to understand that your kids are going through similar things, but they are in a different boat. So it's important to say, hey, they're going through something, I might not understand it, but I'm here to help them. It's also really important to ask your kids how they're doing, what stresses them out, how you can help your kids. Because a lot of kids, they just really need to feel loved, and they really need to feel like you care about them and their wellness.
Excellent. Great advice. Something that I will take to heart when I go and talk to my kids. So a big thank you to both Atticus and Brittany for joining us today and sharing your story. Beth, thank you very much for including all the fabulous resources that Fairfax County Public Schools are doing. And Akira, so can you just sign us out here? Oh, thank you.
Might need some
help with that. There we go. So as we find our Zen moment, I just want to thank all of you all for watching. A big shout out to McLean High School. Go Highlanders for hosting us today. And if you would like to get more information on the conference that Beth spoke about, the one that's happening on October 5th, the Mental Health and Wellness Conference, please go to fcps.edu and search Wellness Conference. In addition, if you would like to get more information on Fairfax County Public Schools Wellness Program, again, go to the same website, fcps.edu, and search Mental Health and Resiliency. And there you'll find all the resources that Beth spoke about. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to use the comments section below, and we'll be more than happy to follow up with you. And lastly, if you would like to get more information about the Health Department's School Health Promotion Program, go to fairfaxcounty.gov/health and search for School Health Promotion. And for all of those watching today, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you find your Zen moment, and wishing you all a great afternoon. Thank you.